Welcome to episode 98 of the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is Jacob, and I am here with my friend Libby. Libby, how are you?
Quite well today. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well as well. Got some vaccines yesterday, so I've been feeling kind of under the weather, but I'm getting better, so that's good. So I think you interviewed our guest this week, didn't you?
Yeah, our guest this week is named Matt, and he's got a really interesting story, mostly because, his story is pretty normal as far as Kratom goes, but he's offering something really special for all of our listeners who might still be struggling. And so I think it's definitely worth a listen because he's got all types of suggestions on how to detox at home. So definitely worth a listen.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. I'm sure that'll be valuable for people that are still trying to get off Kratom.
Yeah, it made me be like, I wish I'd known about you before
Yeah, there's been several times where guests have brought up stuff that I didn't know about that I wish I knew about, but, just glad not to be going back in that direction. So, all right, our intro topic this week is talking a bit about things that, maybe you stopped doing when you were deep in your addiction. I had this thought because I had listened to, I forget who Jasmine interviewed, but they had talked about stopping reading. And I really resonated with that because Kratom specifically, I never really stopped reading with other drug addiction, but Kratom, for some reason, I really just completely and totally stopped reading books. It even took me 6 months or maybe even more before I actually picked up a book after I was off the stuff. So I don't know why that was, but it really did that. And then I had another experience way before Kratom when I was addicted to other things where I was doing some side work in the music industry that I really loved doing. And I basically just gave all that up because I was so deep into addiction and it got in the way of being able to use and stuff. So those are my kind of two experiences with addiction kind of taking me away of things that I naturally found joy in. I found it hard to kind of restart.
I had a pretty standard experience as other people, actually, where I stopped listening to music and I didn't even realize it until really listening to some of the podcast episodes where people were like, oh, it just didn't sound the same. And I think that I really related to that, where it just didn't affect me the same way. Music is such an emotional experience for me. It really engages me in that way. And I wasn't getting engaged in that way. And I just stopped listening to music. I was listening to podcasts. So in that way, I was similar to other people. But in other ways where I hadn't been reading and I started reading a lot when I was on Kratom. And I started doing researching and working out, and the stimulating effects were actually really beneficial for me. I was able to continue those patterns after quitting. So I'm really grateful for that. I continue to reinforce that neural pathway is healthy habits. But it was interesting to me when I hear people are like, oh, all I wanted to do was play video games. I'm like, all I wanted to do was read and research and get better and grow. And I felt at a certain point, Kratom actually, where I really started to see the detriment in my life was my goals weren't being reached. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't lose that 10 pounds. I couldn't gain that insight. I couldn't manifest that thing. I couldn't do it. It was I hit a wall, and I knew deep down that it was the blockage was the Kratom.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I found that the first, I would say, not the first year, because I was honestly using more recreationally then, and I wouldn't even really classify as an addiction because it wasn't daily and in large amounts. But when I truly got addicted to it, the first year I actually had a really, really good year at work, and I was super productive, and then it just all went to shit after that. I don't know why, but something about after a year. I know most guests say this and most people had this experience with music, but I really, to be very honest, I never had that experience. I've always, I DJ, I've produced music. I used to play in bands. I can play 5 different instruments, and I never stopped, or I never lost passion for it. And I would still driving in the car, high as hell on Kratom. I should say, I don't know if I was driving, maybe I was riding, I don't know. But regardless, like, I never really experienced that. I don't know why, but it always seemed to work for me. Maybe just different chemistry or something. I don't know.
You don't feel at all like it had like less of an impact on you?
No, actually, no. I spent a week during the pandemic, probably 6 months in, where my friend who's a record producer that lives in Brooklyn, we spent like a week locked in, and I think one of the tracks that we put together was like one of my best work ever on Kratom. Take that for what you will, but yeah, it was. I never really had that experience. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, obviously we all take it for some type of enhancement. It had to have some type of positive effect on our lives in order for us to continue. So it's really interesting how it affects different people so differently.
I guess it's just like any other drug, right? It does different things to different people, and maybe like, I don't know, depending on if you're naturally inclined to something versus something else, maybe it does influence you differently. I don't know. I'm probably not qualified to really assess that one.
Yeah, as more research comes out about it and like how it hits different parts of the brain in different ways, like I'm excited to understand more about it. Just because it's been such a big part of my life, impacted such a big part of my life too. So I'm looking forward to understanding the plant more.
Yeah, I kind of am too, because I think similar experience, and I think we just really don't know that much about it. Like, I know it's been around for a while in Southeast Asia, but particularly in how it's now being consumed in Western countries, and just the level of people using it and the different types and formulations and all that stuff. I think there's a lot of guinea pigs out there, so it would be interesting to see how it truly affects people and what they're able to kind of map to different effects on different brains and different pathways and stuff. Well, I don't know if I have anything more to share on this topic. Any final thoughts or anything else?
Not really, no. I think we covered it.
All right, cool. Well, we'll get on to your interview with Matt then.
Everyone, welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is episode number 98, and today I'm here with Matt, who's going to tell us his story. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. My name is Matt. I'm happy to be here today. 3 months clean and sober from Kratom.
Nice. You want to tell us a little bit about like what brought you to Kratom in the first place?
Oof. Sure. Yeah, I, like some other people that I found on the Reddit quitting Kratom community, didn't know I was doing Kratom until I found out what I was doing. So I went to a bodega to get some CBD, and it was a rough night. I was feeling sad, and I've struggled with depression my whole adult life. So even though I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing any other drugs, I was just having a rough night. And I go down to this bodega to get some CBD. And the store owner says, we have this other thing. It's a kava drink. People tend to like it, and it's like CBD. So I say, all right, same price. Let's give it a shot. And it was a blue bottle. And I take it, and I hadn't felt that good in as long as I could remember, because it was just a light switch. It was just on. Suddenly, all of your mental anguish is gone, and you can be comfortable. Your anxiety is gone. And I thought, wow, kava is awesome, because that's what it said on the bottle. It said it's a kava drink. It's a botanical. Those who know. And so I went back the next day to take it again. And then the next day to take it again. And then I was able to go a few days without, off and on, until suddenly I was taking it every day. But I still thought I was just doing kava. Imagine my surprise when I go to Whole Foods and I get a tincture of kava. That's the first thing I did once I tried this blue bottle. It's like, oh, wow, I wonder if I can get more of this at the grocery store. And I get a tincture of kava, and I take it, and it does nothing. But I didn't figure it out until much later, when someone told me that those blue bottles were packed with Kratom.
So how long was that going on? I'm wondering, like, if the bottle had said Kratom on it, would you have known what that was?
I would have done some more research, I definitely would have, because I was told that kava was the active ingredient. So I looked up kava, and it's this root, and it's okay, a root, it's a plant. It's not going to hurt me. It's not like the synthesized juice of the poppy flower, except I was taking something that very much is like that with the kratom leaf. So I was doing this for 2 to 3 months off and on, and then more and more on and more on and more on. And I remember one day I told my girlfriend, I said, hey, you've seen me take these. I think I'm getting addicted to these. Please don't let me take any more of these. And she's just like, okay, yeah, And so I stopped taking them. And one day I was walking by an apothecary shop. It's like a fancy head shop, right? And I go in there and I'm looking for something just to take the edge off, like the CBD. And I asked the clerk in there, and she says, oh, yeah, what are you looking for? I said, well, I was taking kava. I was taking this Blue Bottle brand of a kava drink. And she's like, whoa, that's not kava, that's kratom. And I said, what's kratom? She's like, yeah, that stuff's just packed with kratom. She says, that's what got me through 30 days of sober October. Ironic timing for this episode. And so I said, oh, kratom. And she says, yeah, and here are all the products that I have that are kratom extracts and kratom pills and kratom drinks. And it's like getting thrown to the wolves, right? So it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll try one of the extracts. And then boom, there it is, right back in it.
Ooh. So had you had any experience with substance addiction or any other types of addictions before running into the blue bottles?
Yeah. I used to be really ashamed of this stuff, but at this point I'm 39 and I've learned so much about life addicted and life sober that if anybody's listening that's ashamed of their history, please don't be. Chances are you've learned a lot of valuable lessons that have made you a better person. I started smoking. My mom is not going to listen to this. I started smoking when I was 19. I got to college and my friends were all smoking, like my new party friends. I knew cigarettes were bad. I was brought up, don't smoke. My mom hated smoke, but they were smoking. So I started to smoke, and then they were drinking. So I started to drink for the first time in my life. So now it was really, really normal to go out on a weeknight, Friday night, Saturday night in college and get drunk. And then if I'm drinking, I'm smoking. And then if I'm smoking, I'm waking up in the morning with a pack of cigarettes next to me. So now during the day, I'm like, I'll just have one. It's right here. And now I'm smoking during the day. And then that just becomes normal. So by the time I graduate, I can drink 15 shots in a night. I can smoke a pack a day. And I'm not happy about that, but those are 2 drugs that I left school with. And I had a problem with both of those going forward. And we can talk about that. But then the other thing that's most relevant to kratom is my tramadol year. I had a motorcycle incident in Liberia when I was living there. I just wiped out on my motorcycle when I was in the jungle, and I got taken to a hospital. And they gave me tramadol, which, if you're not familiar, is a mu opioid partial agonist, mu partial opioid agonist, just like kratom is. Plays on the receptors in the same way. And my prescription ran out after a few weeks, but I had enjoyed tramadol so much because it had allowed me to not just not feel the pain of my knee, but to connect with people in a way that I hadn't had before. It was my first real experience with opiates. I just felt comfortable, no anxiety. And so when I ran out, pharmacies around the world do not have the same regulations as the United States. You can get a lot of class 1 drugs just by asking for them. And that was the case in Liberia. It was the case in Mexico when I lived there after Liberia. And it was the case in Kenya when I lived there after Mexico until I quit cold turkey. So yeah, I've got some experience.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you had to go through withdrawal from the tramadol. So you knew what withdrawal was going to feel like before you stopped the kratom.
Yeah, that's 100%. When I went cold turkey from tramadol, there was I feel like everybody has their own moment where it kicks in, or if you've gone through some really bad withdrawals, there's that one moment where it hits you. And I was working at this, it's called iHub. It's a makerspace near downtown Nairobi. And I was working on my energy project. I was building an energy storage project out there. And I was just sitting at the table working with my tools, had my batteries. And I'd been done for 24 hours when suddenly, and I mean, like suddenly, this thing rose inside of me, this feeling, this panic. It said, you have to get up and leave now. And I'm like, I don't really want to leave right now. I'm in the middle of it. It's like, leave now or you're going to break down. So I just put my stuff down on the table in the middle of the day, stood up, never told this story before, believe it or not. Stood up, I was on the 4th floor, walked the stairs all the way to the bottom, not really knowing what was happening to me because I didn't know I was about to go through what I was about to go through. And I couldn't get in the car. I couldn't drive home because I couldn't sit still. I just knew if I sit still, like the world would end. So I put my headphones on and I walked through the busy streets, past hundreds of people, not seeing them, back to where I was staying. And then I was in this empty house in the middle of the day going through, like, your brain is blowing up. So I just put on music, got in the shower, sat down and cried. I mean, like, I bawled until the tears passed and I felt a little better, and I got out and I went downstairs and there was one of my housemates. I was like, oh shit. Like, I hope my music was really loud. Yeah, that sucked, man. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. I was like working in a yoga studio, like cleaning the studio for free yoga classes, basically. And I was there cleaning the studio one night, and I was like, I decided to go cold turkey that day, and it hit me in such a way that I was like, I cannot be here right now. Like, I have to go home. It wasn't going to go away by going home, but I like just could not be anywhere that wasn't home. So I get that. When it hits you, it can really take you out.
What did you do when you got home?
I don't know. I smoked some weed and
take the edge off.
Some, movies, and I think I was just more comfortable like being in my own bed and in my own energy and not having to like exert myself. So that wasn't a very successful cold turkey for me. It wasn't the end of my Kratom story, but that was just one example of withdrawals are brutal. How would you compare your withdrawals? Like, what were they like when you went cold turkey from the blue bottle shots?
Well, this is a tale of two quits here. And to be more clear for the listeners, after I quit the blue bottles, which if you've ever had them, you know that they taste like rotten dirt. They just taste like hot garbage. So it's easy to not want to drink them. The problem is you really miss the effects. I knew nothing about the extracts out there, but suddenly I'd found out about them. And like, that's what I rolled on until I tried to quit the black extracts, the little bottles. So when I tried to quit, let's say winter of, like maybe early spring this year, I just said to myself, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of spending the money. I'm looking like garbage, like the taste of the blue bottles. And I went through withdrawals for 3 days that were mimicked from the tramadol withdrawals. The exact same sense of brutal isolation and depression, which I didn't mention, actually. That's why I had to get up. It's like the world was crumbling. I was falling into an abyss of darkness. And if I sat still, it would eat me up. That's what I felt when I came down from Kratom as well, from these extracts. But this time, I just got in my car and I drove around and I listened to music and I cried. I'd be at stoplights and people would be like looking at me. And I thank God no one's in the car with me. Otherwise, they'd think that somebody did something terrible. But I just drove around for hours until it passed, and then went heavy on the melatonin to get to sleep. Had terrible sleep. You wake up, you feel okay. But for me, 11 a.m. came around. And when 11 a.m. came around, that's when my brain started to say, all right, we're going to try to rebalance ourselves, and you are going to have to tough this out. And it would be for a few hours, and then it would calm down. And then around 4 or 5, same thing. And that lasted for 4 days. But that quit was not successful. I eventually, a month later, decided, hey, man, today was a rough day. Why don't you just go get one of those little black bottles? And if you want, I'll tell you about the successful quit, but that was a fail. So just so everyone knows, I am clean and I have no regrets and I don't look back, but well, no regrets. I have many regrets, but I've never looked back from my clean quit, but I failed too. Just so everybody listening knows, I failed too.
Yeah, I think it's really rare that someone can just go cold turkey the first time and get all the way through it and stay away. You know, we learn so much from relapsing. And I think that there's this stigma and this like feeling when it happens to you that like you don't want to come back out and be like, hey, I've relapsed and I need support. But I think we should just stop stigmatizing it. And also like the whole counting days thing is like, I don't know. I just want to like celebrate every time we try to quit. Like it's so hard to be.
I completely
addicted.
agree.
Yeah, it's so hard.
That's really refreshing to hear you say that. I've had this thought myself that, you know, you mess up, fine. You can mess up in a lot of things in your life. The only way that you stay messed up is when you fail to keep trying. And I know it's cliche, but the only way that you stay addicted is when you stop trying to quit. So it's like fail 100 times and get the 101st one right. It's way better than being a slave to a substance.
For sure. Yeah. Never quit quitting. For sure. For sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So after you relapsed again on the black ones, what happened? How long did that last?
Hard to say. I would say a few months, which is pretty hard to admit. You do these things, you have these habits, you keep them private. I kept mine private. I tried my best not to let anyone worry about me. My girlfriend found one of them in the car. And since she had known what the blue bottles were eventually, she was really disappointed in me for what I was getting back into. And I was just, man, that's a low point. But what do you do when you feel low and you're addicted to a substance? You take more of the substance. It just becomes your crutch. And, you know, she understood. She loves me a lot and she is doing her best to support me. But there's no way you can rationalize someone's behavior at that point by saying, okay, yeah, maybe you can just take a little bit. And she knew that, and I knew that, danced around it. That's my fault. But look, when I quit tramadol, there was one morning when I woke up and I looked in the mirror, and this was after a year of constant use. And I realized what I was about to do. What I do every morning is I wake up, I pop 2 tabs, then they're painkillers. They're just opiates, right? It's the first thing I do in the morning so that by the time I'm eating breakfast, I'm feeling it. And I looked in the mirror that morning and I thought, I just don't want to take a pill to be happy. And that was when my subconscious and my conscious agreed, like for the first time, that you don't actually want to do this anymore. And that's what really allowed me to move forward and go through the fire of the withdrawals and not go back. Like a week after I quit tramadol, I wasn't thinking about tramadol. And the same thing was when I successfully quit Kratom. A week after I quit Kratom, I wasn't thinking about Kratom. That happened to me after, let's say, a month with Kratom, about a month of doing the whole go to bed. I'm not going to do this again. Tomorrow I'm quitting. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to look like this anymore. And you go to bed and you think, okay, I'm done. And you wake up and you think, I'm done. First 2 hours of the day, I'm still done. I'm feeling great. You know, at 12 p.m. comes in and your subconscious, which is not ready to quit yet, says, hey, stressful day. Why don't you just head out, get some Kratom? And your conscious mind says, no, we made a choice. We're not doing this. Subconscious is not swayed. Subconscious does not care what the conscious mind has to say. It says, just go get one. Conscious mind, no. Subconscious mind, just one. Conscious mind, all right, fine. Because you can't live with cognitive dissonance in your head. That's why willpower is so brutal. It fails so often, and it's difficult to live through because your subconscious is still somewhat attached to the drug. So then you go out and you get the drug, and you're there, and then your subconscious says, I'll just buy 2. You're here, just buy 2. You're like, all right, fine. I'll just buy 2. It's convenient just in case. And then you go home and you take it. And then 20 minutes later, you're feeling it. 20 minutes later, you're coming down. and that pleasure pain balance, the dopamine, it goes up and then it comes down worse on the other side when you come down. Now you're feeling really low. Well, go take the other one. No, man, I said I wasn't going to do this. Go take it. And anyways, by the end of the day, I'm taking 3. I have gone back out to the store and I bought another one. And I'm so ashamed of myself. One day I woke up like with tramadol. And I was just done, man. I was just done. And I said, whatever I can do to prepare myself to quit successfully this time, I'm going to do. And that's what I really want to talk about in a sizable portion of this interview, because I think I have some advice for people who can put their minds where it needs to be and best prepare them. Does any of what I said resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a great way to characterize cravings for me, because I characterize cravings as like there's conscious and unconscious cravings. Like I want it, I know what will make me feel better. I'm struggling right now, it will feel so good. Like those are very conscious cravings. And then there's that unconscious, like knee-jerk reaction craving, almost, where it's like it's a feeling. It's almost like an emotion that arises that it's like need to use, and that was a really great way to characterize it, was like conscious and unconscious. So I definitely relate to that. And if you want to go ahead and go into it, we can just get right into like, what did the withdrawals look like? What did it look like the day you were like, I'm going to quit? And then how did that play out and what helped you?
Okay. So before I went cold turkey, because I can't taper, I can't do it, I don't have the self-control to taper, I read a book, Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Cocaine. I had used Alan Carr to quit cigarettes. His Easy Way series, by the way, if you don't know it, I'm going to highly recommend it in the next part of this discussion. But he has these books that say, you're addicted to a substance, fine, read my book, and by the time you're done, you'll be quit. And it's like, bullshit. But it's 6th grade reading level, 300 pages. You can read it in a few hours. And in 2015, I quit cigarettes by reading that book. You can smoke the whole time you read it. Easy way to quit smoking. Smoked the whole time, read it. And when I finished the book, I put out my last cigarette. I haven't smoked since. And I used it to quit alcohol too. So I figured if I want to quit Kratom, I'm going to use the same methods that he used on me to undo my perceived benefits of this drug and get me to look forward to quitting instead of thinking I'm sacrificing something by quitting. And I just changed the word Kratom for cocaine. Easy way to quit cocaine. Anytime they said cocaine, I just thought Kratom. And that got me really excited to quit, because what Alan Carr does is he undoes all of the brainwashing that society has done to you to make you think that this drug works, and the brainwashing that you've done on yourself. Anything good you think about it, he undoes that. He turns it on its head, and he gets you to the point where you just simply can't wait to be done. And I know it sounds like voodoo. It sounds like magic. Check the stats on it. It works. So I figured, all right, I'm going to read one of these books and get myself to make sure my subconscious and my conscious mind are aligned, that both of them really do want to quit. And it worked. I still took the drug for a few days, and I took it because I was so scared of the withdrawal symptoms. I was just terrified of going through that hell that I had and crying in the shower or driving around feeling like the world was just a black hole. So I instead of letting the fear own me and keep me trapped, I went online and I did some research. There is a voluminous amount of scientific literature out there, clinical studies about over-the-counter supplements that you can buy on Amazon right now that have been shown to combat the withdrawal symptoms of acute withdrawal symptoms, rather, of opioid addiction. And if you take them in the right amounts and you take them in the right times of day, you can mitigate their effects. So I thought, this is excellent. This is exactly what I wanted to see, that people from all over the world have studied these supplements and found that in rats, mice, and humans, they have positive, statistically significant effects for people trying to quit opiates. And I put together a daily regimen, morning, noon, and night. And from the day I quit, I was taking them. And I swear that it helped minimize all of the withdrawals that I was afraid of, to the point where, and I know this isn't going to be the same for everybody, I barely felt them. None of that black hole, none of the spinning darkness of isolation and loneliness, no fight or flight mechanism. It was not walking through fire. It was just kind of walking forward.
What were they? I mean, we've talked a lot about, there have been people that have done the liposomal vitamin C megadosing. So I've heard about that. It did not work for me, like in the slightest. Yeah. So that was the same quit that I was at the yoga studio. I had been megadosing liposomal vitamin C and it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. No.
I have opinions on the way that the quitting Kratom community has highlighted the megadose. It comes from one study on mice, I believe, and it's like they had significantly less OUD symptoms through this megadosing, but there are other ways to do it. Because I did the liposomal vitamin C on its own and it didn't do anything for me. And the body can only absorb so much vitamin C at any time. It tends to top out at 1,000 milligrams. Anything else is excess and the liver is just going to push it into your urine because it's rate controlled. Your enzymes can only process so much vitamin C and give it to your head to rebalance all of the neurotransmitters and be antioxidants to the oxidative species that are up there causing havoc. So, of course, it's not going to work if you just do that. It's just not. I'm sorry. Placebo effect for the people that it does work for. I don't mean to cast aspersions on anybody, really, truly. If it works for you, I'm so happy. But scientifically speaking, it's a rate-controlled absorption process into your body. So what I used, I wanted to make sure that my mornings were energetic and full of motivation. Because if you can recall when you were on Kratom, you'd wake up and you'd just be like, oh, God, I don't want to get out of bed. I got no motivation to do anything. Just another day. There's nothing good here. So I didn't want to feel that. And I knew that what makes you pursue goals, rewards you for pursuing goals, and gives you pleasure for achieving goals is this chemical dopamine, neurotransmitter in your head. How could I jumpstart dopamine transmission, especially if you're in withdrawals? Chances are you're very low on supply. Well, there is a drug. It's called L-Dopa. It's the precursor to dopamine. And if you load up on it, then for the first hour or two after you take it, you will feel some energy. It affects people differently, but it helped me a lot. And that came in Mucuna pruriens, which is a plant, 15% of which is L-Dopa. So 120 milligrams L-Dopa, 800 milligrams Mucuna pruriens in total. N-acetylcysteine. If you're familiar with this, it's an amino acid that reduces the oxidative stress of oxidants on your cells, and especially within your brain. So it promotes brain health, but it also allows the brain to healthily get your neurotransmitters back on track, and it reduces your cravings by regulating something called glutamate. Glutamate in a nucleus accumbens, when it's hyperactive, which is a common symptom of going through withdrawals, gives you that fight or flight, that craving, that restlessness that I need to be doing something. I have to get out, get in my car, drive, and cry. NAC, N-acetylcysteine, will tamp this down by inhibiting the glutamate from going out of control. So there's that, and it promotes brain health. B complex, it's about as simple as anything, but the B complex is basically just pure energy. There's a reason why Red Bull is falling out of favor and Celsius is coming up and these other drinks that are packed with B vitamins. Because B vitamins they're the energy superhighway. And chances are, if you're going through withdrawals, you have very low levels of B vitamins. So Mucuna pruriens, B complex, N-acetylcysteine or NAC, and then pre and probiotics. Kratom and opiates have a way of tearing your gut health to pieces, especially with chronic use, because of the way that everything in your body just becomes dependent and adapts to the presence of the chemicals. So if you can find a way to promote gut health, there's a thing called the gut-brain axis, which is very real. And a lot of your neurotransmitters that you use to be happy, like serotonin, they come from the food that you eat. And healthy digestion will promote good neurotransmitter health in your brain, but you can't have healthy digestion without good microbiome in your gut. So pre and probiotics, I wouldn't even stop there. Honestly, if I could go back, I would have put in some resistant starches. I think that would actually be better. But that, and then vitamin C, because it's such a powerful antioxidant. And when you're going through withdrawals, the oxidative species in your head that will interrupt proper regulation of your neurotransmitters, it's just running wild. And vitamin C, like NAC, tamps that down. And then for the morning, what else did I have in the morning? And then magnesium. Magnesium, it's a famous one. It's got a lot of good benefits: muscle health, calm and relaxing, brain health. I'll stop there before I get into my afternoon and evening ones. Do you have any reaction to the supplements that I just talked about?
Yeah, I also had the L-Dopa from the Mucuna, and I read on Reddit somewhere that like you have to be really careful about that, taking it too many days in a row, because it can have like a rebound effect and kind of make your withdrawals worse eventually, because it's still acting on the dopamine.
I read the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. It does have that effect with prolonged use. My research, and nothing was conclusive as this many days you have, right? Showed that if you use it for more than a month, going on 2 months, you will have a problem. But if you use it for the interim, especially when your brain isn't producing it anyways, you basically fill the hole while the brain is getting things back on track. And in no way do I recommend using all of these things together every single day forever. And I'll go into some more chemicals that you definitely shouldn't take forever, because then you're just swapping. This is just to get you over the hump.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. So,
go ahead to the afternoon then.
Right, the afternoon. So the morning was energy and motivation, making sure I can get out of bed and not feel like a lump of crap, right? And that I actually have energy to go tackle the things I need to do. Cool. But then what happens when the afternoon hits and those cravings start to hit? Like I said, the subconscious comes in and says, knock, knock, knock. Now's about the time that you should go get something. So you got to keep the dopamine levels up, but you shouldn't give yourself such a rush as you did in the beginning. So you take L-tyrosine, which is the precursor to L-Dopa, which is the precursor to dopamine. The difference is they ride different highways to your brain through enzymatic highways to your brain. And L-tyrosine is rate controlled. So you can take as much as you want, but the body is only going to absorb a certain amount of it, just like vitamin C. L-Dopa, on the other hand, is like opening the tap. So you don't want to do that again in the afternoon. You want to give yourself something that your body will steadily absorb. And then you have the famous one, L-theanine, which is a calming agent. And you can say that it works. You can say it doesn't really work, but it worked for me. It kept things relaxed. And ashwagandha as well. Theanine and ashwagandha working together just made me feel not sedate, but because they don't have sedative properties, but calm and relaxed, which is just what you want. When you're expecting the brutal withdrawals to make you get up and run around, what you want is to be able to sit still. And then I put in some vitamin C, and then the N-acetylcysteine as well, just because of the way that it regulates your fight or flight mechanism. And I can go into the evening as well if you want. But do you have any thoughts about the afternoon?
The L-tyrosine was something that I took before quitting and then after quitting for like 2 months, just to be supportive of like neural regenerative stuff.
Yeah.
That was suggested to me so I was on that for a while until I ran out, and I was like, I think I'm okay.
That's actually the best way to do it. When you run out and you're like, you know what? That's the best feeling. Like, I don't need this anymore. That is the best feeling.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and go into the evening routine. I'd love to hear about that too.
This one I think is actually the most important, if I'm being honest, because it's in sleep that your brain repairs itself the most effectively. And maybe you're like me and a lot of the other people out there, but when you quit a drug, you wake up a lot at night, and sometimes you wake up sweating, your temperature fluctuations, and you have a hard time sleeping, to put it mildly. And then you can't get all the health that you would have had if you had slept properly. So the evening pills were basically a mix of a knockout punch and a relaxing agent. The knockout punch is the melatonin. you can dose up to 5 to 10 milligrams of melatonin. It's the sleep hormone that starts your sleep-wake cycle. So if you take it, your brain thinks, oh, it's time to sleep. And then you pair that with L-tryptophan, which is the stuff that's famous for making you tired in Thanksgiving. Like you eat the turkey, it's full of L-tryptophan. And then your body absorbs it and you get really tired. It's a precursor to serotonin, which is a precursor to melatonin at night. So what you're doing is you're loading your body firstly with melatonin, which says, hey, dummy, it's time to go to sleep now. And then you're eating tryptophan, which says, all right, we're going to make some serotonin, which is that nice, it makes you feel comfortable and good. That's such a non-scientific way to put it. But serotonin is, it's like the happiness molecule. It's also the comfort molecule. And then tap some passion flower on that as well for the relaxing properties. And then I think the key ingredient here is GABA. I had to study GABA for quite a while to really understand whether or not it was going to be valuable. But it inhibits an excited feeling that you might get going to bed and your mind is racing. That's why it's there. Because you go to bed and your brain isn't sending the right signals to go to sleep. So you're sitting there racing, thinking about nothing, thinking about how, oh man, is tomorrow going to be worse? Have I made the right decision? Am I going to have any more cravings? The GABA comes in and inhibits the neurons that are firing all of those transmissions and others, right? So make sure you're taking it when you're ready to go to bed. But you mix GABA, you mix L-tryptophan, you mix melatonin and passion flower, and it's like a light switch. You're going to go to sleep. I can't promise that you won't wake up, but you will fall asleep most likely. And that's at least a gift right there.
Did you find all of this through the Quitting Kratom Reddit, or were there like other Reddit rabbit holes that you had to go down to figure this all out?
I did it on my own. I have a background in research design, program evaluation, and statistical reporting. So I just figured I would dig into the medical literature and figure out what was statistically significant and shown to be effective.
So you weren't even like leaning heavy on the liposomal vitamin C.
I didn't even know it was a thing really until I joined the Quitting Kratom community, which was the day of my quit. Okay. So I just happened to have vitamin C, liposomal vitamin C with me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all that. Do you have somewhere where that protocol is written down, or maybe we can put it in the show notes somewhere, but
yes, please.
I think it could help a lot of people. Yeah.
I'd like to say for anyone listening, I've posted about this formulation, or I've made reference to it in the Quitting Kratom community on a number of posts, people asking for support and what supplements to take, how they should attack their cold turkey. And I've, in addition to encouraging them and trying to give positive reinforcement, I've asked them if they are interested in the supplement formulation, send me a message. 4 people have actually now received this formulation. I call it the Quit Kit. I've sent them exactly what I took, 14 days supply, because this is a lot of stuff. And buying all of this is going to cost you hundreds of dollars. And I only used it for 14 days. I had hundreds of extra pills that I wasn't going to take. So I was able to help people combat their own withdrawals already. I've had uniformly positive responses. People going cold turkey and using this to minimize their withdrawal symptoms. That being said, if you're interested, I want to help you. And I set up a quick landing page. You can send me your information. I'll send you a free Quit Kit. If it helped them, maybe it can help you. Total anonymity, whatever you want. But please don't be afraid to reach out to me and send me your information. I have a whole rundown of what's in it, the nutrition facts, the supplement labels, the concentrations. They come in heat-sealed pocket packs, with morning, noon, and nighttime on them. It's aluminum cellophane packs that you just heat seal at the top, you rip open when you want them. And I'm more than happy. I think I'm trying to do 50 people or until I run out. But, please let me put that in the universe if I can.
Wow, that's so incredibly generous of you. And That's incredible. Yeah.
I want to pay it forward, man. There's a lot of pain out there. And I've been through it 4 times: cigarettes, alcohol, tramadol, and kratom. Like, if I can help anybody, I want to help.
Amazing. Well, we'll put your contact into the show notes in that case. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover or go over or share with us?
Sure. Definitely. Thank you. And thank you for listening to all this. I feel like I haven't talked this much straight and I can't remember. So we cover the subconscious and conscious minds. They have to be in alignment to really be able to move forward successfully. Find an Alan Carr book. It's a shortcut right there. And then I would say, do yourself a favor and get these supplements just to give yourself the best fighting chance of minimizing your withdrawals and your fear of the withdrawals. And then this may be a little unorthodox, but give yourself a personal project. This will combat the boredom you will face in your first days being sober. Because kratom systematically destroys your ability to live a flourishing life, to fill it with value and meaning and things that you can fall back on. So getting sober tends to mean you'll now have an abundance of time you would have otherwise spent being high. And that time probably wasn't spent being very productive. It probably just made you feel like it. So instead of allowing yourself to sit idle on a couch or just watch a movie, if that's not good enough for you, movies are fine. But just in case you're feeling bored, I really urge you to give yourself a meaningful project that'll take you several hours to do. You'll now have way more disposable income. Let's be very clear. You'll have way more money to spend on it, which is also why I justified spending all that money on the supplements. It's like, this is 5 days of kratom. I'm saving money doing this. You'll have more money to spend on it. You now know that you'll be doing something for yourself and not just because it's a drug and you have to get high. So it's special to you, or it can be. And you have the opportunity to fill otherwise, just passing time with something that is truly valuable to you. You can point to it and say, hey, I did this. And others can look at it. You can show them a song. You can show them something you wrote. You can build something in your house, replace something, learn a new skill, anything that will take hours and that you want to do. The reason it's so valuable is because you already want to do it, and it keeps your mind busy when you otherwise would have let it drift. And then by the time your acute withdrawals will have gone through, you won't have anywhere near the level of that devil sitting on the back on your shoulder and saying, no, go get some more. And you will have accomplished something. So I really say, give yourself a personal project.
Yeah, I know for me, I like to read. So I could finish a book in a few days, just really. Sure. I've started to pick up a guitar and just YouTube University, trying to teach myself how to play guitar. It's so important to find purpose. And it's also just reinvigorating to find the creative process again, because kratom can really just rip that away so viciously. So,
you're so right.
Yeah, wonderful.
Kratom makes you feel like the things that mattered to you before don't hold the same weight. And then when you get sober, you're like, wait, they're still beautiful. These things are still beautiful to me, and I'm beautiful with them. That's one of the things that having a project can attach you to.
Speaking of that, I know a lot of people can relate to music kind of landing differently and quite frankly, not as well on kratom. Did you have that experience? And was there any music that you're like, this is my jam?
I don't know about that. Kratom would make me not need anything art oriented, which is tragic, because since I was 15 and 16, all I really cared about was music and writing and love and being creative. When you're high all the time, it's so easy to just watch TV and play a video game. Yeah, it's just, and you stop taking the drug and suddenly you're like, oh, I gotta go learn that song that I wanted to learn for a year. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you think I did in the first day? I mean, I installed lights in the house and then I learned the song that I really wanted to learn. YouTube University, right? The lessons are right there.
Well, I think that's a really good place to end. Matt, thank you so much. I know this episode's going to be helpful for so many people, and I'm so grateful that you came on to talk to us.
Hey, it's really nice to meet you, Libby. And if I could help anyone, please don't be afraid. I know we all have our habits in private, and we think that there are our own little things that we got to keep secret. But I swear, I've been where you've been, at least to some degree, and I'll understand some of it. And if I can help you, I want to. I think we all do. Libby too, everybody on this podcast. So I'll put this website landing page in the notes. Contact me. I'll send you what I got, and maybe we can make you a friend even. So anyways, thank you for having me on this podcast. It means a lot that you did this.
Of course. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye, Libby.
Bye.
Welcome to today's podcast, where we peel back the layers of the confusion and misdirection that surround the kratom industry. Kratom, as you definitely all know, is a plant from Southeast Asia used for its stimulant and narcotic effects depending on the dose. But today, we're focusing on a specific point of contention, the role of 7-hydroxymetragenine, or 7-OH, and how this compound is used to muddy the waters of public perception. Specifically, we're addressing how this metabolite is being used as a red herring to obscure the full reality of kratom's effects. Now, why do I call it a red herring? Here's the issue. The narrative often pushed by the kratom industry highlights 7-hydroxymetragenine as a dangerous compound that's supposedly not present in kratom itself in harmful amounts. But here's the thing. While 7-OH is indeed more potent in its effects on opioid receptors, and they're right, it doesn't naturally occur in the high amounts in the kratom leaf itself, the big takeaway here, and this is where the misdirection comes in, so keep this in mind, is that 7-OH is a metabolite created in the human body when metragenine, the main alkaloid in kratom, is broken down by the liver enzyme CYP3A4. It's very key. According to a study by McCurdy et al. 2024, which I'll be referencing solely for today, approximately 26.5% of metragenine is metabolized into 7-hydroxymetragenine in the human body. This conversion is significant because 7-hydroxymetragenine is far more potent at the mu opioid receptors than metragenine itself. Remember, the mu opioid receptors are the ones that play the largest part in pain reception and euphoria and things like that. That's where the narcotic effects come into play. So regardless of whether kratom contains high levels of 7-OH from the start, your body is turning a chunk of metragenine into this potent metabolite anyway. But here's where it gets tricky. Many kratom advocates focus on the conversation of whether or not there's 7-OH in the plant itself, attempting to downplay kratom's risks by saying the levels of 7-OH in the raw plant material are minimal. They're not wrong. 7-OH levels are typically quite low in the plant itself, but that misses the bigger point entirely. It's a clever sleight of hand. The real issue is metragenine itself, because your body is going to convert a significant portion of it into 7-OH. So even if you're not consuming much 7-OH directly from kratom products, you're still producing it inside your body once you ingest metragenine. McCurdy and his colleagues sourced this information from studies that measured the metabolic pathways of metragenine. Their data showed that after ingestion, CYP3A4 enzymes in the liver play a key role in this conversion process. Why is this important? Because this enzyme activity amplifies the narcotic effects of kratom beyond what people think they're consuming. Users might assume they're only ingesting mild, non-opioid compounds in the form of metragenine, but the body has a way of magnifying those effects once conversion into 7-OH occurs. And here's why this matters. The kratom industry has a vested interest in focusing your attention away from these facts. By downplaying the presence of 7-hydroxymetragenine in the plant itself, they hope to keep the conversation about kratom limited to its safe or natural profile. However, what they're really dodging is that metragenine's conversion into 7-OH inside your body still delivers a narcotic punch, one that's highly relevant to the risks associated with kratom use, especially for those who are using it regularly or in high doses. So, next time you hear claims that kratom is free of dangerous opioid effects because it doesn't contain much 7-OH, take a moment. Remember that your body doesn't need these 7-OH levels in the plant because it's creating its own, thanks to mitragynine. And McCurdy et al. 2024 make it clear that this is happening in all of us through metabolic pathways that are well understood in pharmacology. The kratom industry's focus on 7-OH levels in raw plant material is, frankly, a distraction, a way to divert attention from the opioid-like risks that emerge once mitragynine is metabolized. And it's these risks that should be front and center in any conversation about kratom's safety profile. Thanks for joining me today in this breakdown of this misdirection surrounding kratom's 7-hydroxymitragynine story. Stay informed, stay safe, and always look beyond this service when it comes to your health. Thanks for listening. I'm Jimmy Price, and remember to keep it kratom free.